Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard Tactics video. Today we'll be continuing our look at ways of improving timings and speed of play as an Imperial Guard commander. So we've had a lot of newer players coming over who are not used to handling large formations, especially of sort of infantry and tanks, you know, in many armies. The maximum number of infantry one would command would be like 30 or 40, and now they're coming over to Imperial Guard and they're finding that they can have, you know, 100, 150 easily, and all the big stuff they could require. So we talked, you know, we talked about sort of general sort of strategic things that you can do in the last video, and today we're going to look at maybe a little bit more practical aspects. There will be a little bit of overlap as well, things that I maybe didn't include in the first video I want to include in this one, but generally speaking it's going to be a more practical focus. Now the first thing I want to mention is the biggest practical way of speeding up your time starts before you even deploy. Okay, before you even turn up at the tournament, it comes down to list building. And the reason it's sort of a practical one is it's kind of, list building is limited by your actual collection of models. Now for a lot of long-term guard players, collection of models isn't really a limitation. We've got one of everything. We've got, you know, 100 grenade launchers, 100 flamers, 100 this, 100 that. You know, we've got, maybe a bit of exaggeration, but we've got, you know, 10 to 20 of nearly every special weapon. So list homogenization is not normally a problem. But I should say, collection isn't normally a limiting factor, but for a lot of players it is a limiting factor, especially for maybe narrative players which are coming over to competitive play, or newer players that have just bought an army off eBay and don't really have a very organised list. So sorry, I know I keep coughing a little bit, guys. I'm still a little bit under the weather at the moment. So what do I mean by list homogenization? Well, what I mean is, let's say you've got 6 infantry squads, and you don't want to be there equipping like, oh well, one's got a flamer because that's Fire Team Charlie, and one's got a grenade launcher, and then 2 have got metal guns, and like one's got a plasma, one's got a sniper rifle. No, fuck that. Okay, that's just going to take. What that means is that you've got to look at each squad before you place it down. You know, Fire Team Charlie has got to have the heavy bolt and sniper rifle. Squad Alpha's got to have the flamer and the autocannon. It's like, no. Your list needs to be homogenized. I can't think of a better word for it. It needs to be homogenized. It needs to be made the same. So let's use my rule of 3 list as an example, which is where you have you have 3 formations, and each formation's got a conscript blob, 2 infantry squads, a tank, and a commissar, and a company commander. That alone there, having 3 of those identical sort of mini formations in my army, that's already a level of homogenization. But the next level is what you equip those squads with. And obviously with conscripts it's very easy, they've got lasguns. And battle tanks, it's not, you know, Lemurs, it's not too much of an issue because you can see what guns they've got on them. It's easier if they've all got the same weapons, but you can see what guns they've got on them, so it's quite easy to identify. But infantry squads, you know, you've got to look at, you can be real nitpicky looking at, oh, he's the sniper, right, no, fuck that. Your infantry squad should all be the same. Pretty much they should all be the same. Like, you know, in this edition, I'm running plasma pistol, plasma gun, heavy bolter squads. That's what I'm running. When I take infantry squads, that's what I take. And if I want to try something different, then I swap out, you know, at least half of my weapons. So I want to take autocannon instead. Right, well, I'm taking autocannons across everyone instead. Remember, we're talking from a narrative perspective here. Not from narrative, from a match play perspective here, guys. Not from a, oh, but this squad's always had the autocannon. This autocannon here, it's got kill markings on it because it's always done so well. Yeah, that's fine for narrative play, but we're talking competitive. We're talking about ways of speeding things up. The reason it's really important to have these like homogenized units is because it means when you're deploying them down the battlefield, you don't need to look. You can just be like, bam, this is going to do this. I'm going to deploy this squad down here and this squad down here, and I don't need to look at what equipment's in each squad because I know because they're all the same. Second reason is it's good. It's not necessarily for timings, but it's more of a strategic aspect. Is if all your infantry squads are the same, then you can expect the same sort of results from each one. If you've got a huge mix and variety of special weapons in your list, you've got to start trying to predict what each squad's able to do. No, if they're all the same, then you know what each squad is capable of without even having to think about it. Okay? So that's number one. List homogenization. This brings me in, so make sure you haven't got a massive clusterfuck of different stuff. Make sure it's nice and organized and well put together. Synergy as well. That helps with synergy, having things homogenized. It helps with synergy a lot. Some of you will be wrinkling your nose at this and going, well, I don't really like that. I don't really want to have to take all plasma guns or all flamers. It's like, yeah, you can have a bit of a mix, so, but it's got to be like an organized mix. So, for example, again, using the rule of three list, one of those little formations, maybe you don't want to take 2 double plasma heavy bolter squads. Maybe you just want to take 1 plasma heavy bolter squad, and then another squad you want to be like las cannon and melter gun. That's fine, but make sure that's replicated so that each of your little formations has got conscripts, plasma squad, melter squad, tank. Don't be like conscripts, plasma gun, flamer squad, tank, and then the next one, conscripts, grenade launcher, sniper, fucking chimera. It's too much fucking around. Anyway, I've made my point. Let's get into the next one. This leads in from list optimization, case organization. I've said this in my 7th edition video, but you should be able to, you shouldn't be fussing around with your men after the battle. They should just be able to be put in and out of the trays, or in my case I put them back into the foam trays for the case and take them out again. You shouldn't be fussing around with that. It should be like, okay, this is my big pile of conscripts. Let's say I lost 90 conscripts. Put them all in a pile, wang them back in the case. Done. And then your case, so you don't, because conscripts are really good for this because they've all got las guns. You shouldn't be there like, oh, well, this guy is part of conscript blob number 2, the Braves, and this guy is part of conscript squad number 1, the fuckwits, and they've got to be kept separate. No, fuck that. You're in a tournament. If it's a conscript, it just goes there. Bam! And then the squads can be organised into individual units after the fucking tournament. But don't be messing around saying, oh, he's the sergeant for Charlie team, he's the sergeant for Bravo team. Fuck it. He's a sergeant, alright? He can lead any squad. So that's sort of your case organisation as well. Don't be fussing about with, this man has to be with this squad. No. If he's a plasma gunner, he can go in a infantry squad. He doesn't have to go in a specific infantry squad. Okay? And case organization, so that's sort of when you're putting your guys in the cases, when you're organising your squads for the cases, putting them in the case themselves. I have one of those big Games Workshop cases which can hold 6 foam trays. Okay? I will generally, if I'm taking like 90 conscripts and like 60 infantry, what I will do is 3 of those trays will be dedicated to a conscript squad in each tray. 30 men per tray. Done. And then the other side, I'll be like, well, I have 2 infantry squads per one of these foam trays. And that leaves me, because each of these trays can hold about 40 guys, that means each one of those trays is half full. That means for things like commissars and company commanders and other little bits you might have, they can go in the other the trays with a little bit more room. But generally speaking, how I run it is I have my big 6-tray case, half of them on one side are my conscripts, the other half on the other side are my regular infantry squads, and then I just have a box with my tanks in. Okay? So, there, case organisation is really, really important. Don't be fucking around trying to make sure that Billy Bob Bumface is in fucking Fuckwit Squad 1. No. Doesn't matter. You can organise that later when you get home. Okay? It's like, oh, these are conscripts and these are infantry squad guys. Dude, they're all Cadians, okay? Or they're all Mordians. Whatever. It doesn't matter. 6 lasguns, this squad. 6 lasguns, this squad. 6 lasguns, this squad. The rest, conscripts, done. Easy. Now, the reason this is important is because, and how it saves time, is it cuts down the deployment phase, okay? And it cuts down, gives you time in between matches to collect your thoughts and prepare for the next game. So, on the deployment side, it makes it very easy because you're like, okay, step 1 of my deployment, I deploy the conscript screen. I'll get the first 3 trays out, deploy away, job done. Easy peasy. Next stage of my deployment is I want to put my infantry squads in cover. So I'll get the other 3 trays out. It's one squad, one squad, one squad. And obviously, I know we take it in turns these days for deployment, but your deployment shouldn't really be I know it's a very controversial thing to say this. When playing guard, your deployment shouldn't really be affected by the way your opponent deploys, other than setting up firing arcs. You're always going to be setting up your general fire base anyway and shooting out from that. You know, just make sure that your plasma gun's got eyes on. That's the only real changes you need to make, and make sure you stick to cover. Cover's still really good. So yeah, anyway, so that speeds up deployment. Okay. And what I said before is it gives you time to think between matches. That's a really important one. If you're, let's say, normally between tournament matches, it's like a 10, 15, maybe 20-minute break between each one. So players can go to the toilet, can get another drink, whatever. Pack away the minis. If you're packing away, like, if you're organising your guys, you don't want to be spending your entire break just having to sort your men out. You want to be able to sort your men out within 5 minutes and spend the next 5, 10, 15 minutes getting a drink, refreshing, recharging, learning what your next match up's going to be, and preparing for that mentally. That's a really important aspect of it. So what have we done? List modernisation. Make it easy for you and your opponent to understand your list. That makes it easier when it comes to deployment and packing and organising your models. Case organisation. Make sure you can pull out a tray of guys, deploy them, pull out another squad of guys, deploy them. Don't be fussing around making sure Alpha Leader is with Alpha Squad. Fuck it, Alpha Leader can lead Bravo Squad for a turn. Third thing I want to say is, this is an interesting one, probably one that most people haven't considered, is you kind of need some way of rolling dice quickly, okay, or organising your dice. Okay, this is especially true when you are running, like a conscript squad and each guy's putting out 4 shots. Okay, what you want to be doing is, there's 2 ways of doing this. You want to organise your dice and you want to organise how you roll them. Okay, what I tend to do during my opponent's turn, if he's just sort of moving something and he's taking his time a little bit, I will set out, I've got a big dice bag of like 100 dice. I will set those dice out in multiples of 5. For me, I work with multiples of 5. And I have, because there's always going to be like a bit of spare room on the table that you can set some dice out. You know, and then I set them out in multiples of 5. So that when it comes to, I've got to fire this squad. Okay, there's 20 conscripts there, and they've got 2 shots each. Okay, that's 40 shots. Okay, let me grab some of these multiple of 5 dice. I don't need to be there counting 1 dice, 2 dice, 3 dice, 4 dice, 5 dice. No, fuck that. I've already done that, and now I can just pick my dice up and roll. Makes it a lot easier. And the dice are going to mix up. Don't be there like regimented, like I must have units of 5. No, I don't set them all out. What I tend to do is just have a group of like maybe 40 or 50 dice just set out in little groups. You know, 5. Multiples of 10 works fine as well. You know, multiple 10 works absolutely fine. It just makes it quicker for counting your dice and rolling them. So really, I found that I've always used that, like, for many editions, just having your dice already set out in a multiple that you find useful. You know, maybe if it's conscript, I have them set out in multiples of 4, so you can just pick up 4 dice. That's 1 guy, that's 2 guys, that's 3 guys, that's 4 guys, that's 5 guys. Makes it really easy to figure out. Okay? Second way is rolling your dice. Now, a lot of people like that feeling of rolling the dice in their hands and rolling them out. Yeah, and there's always that's cool. And there's always that joke of like, when you've got so many dice, you have to ask your opponent to pick them up and put them in your hands. It's like, yeah, that's kind of funny. But that takes time. That literally takes, that will cost you over the course of the game maybe 10, 15 minutes. That is like a full shooting phase that you could have had that you unfortunately didn't have because you were messing around having to pick up loads of dice. Have a dice cup. Okay? You don't have to have one. I advise you to pick up a dice cup. Games Workshop, for a limited period of time, made these little leather, I've got it in front of me right now, these little leather cups, and they had like felt on the inside, and the one I've got's got the Imperial Aquila, the Imperial Eagle, stamped on one side and on the bottom of it. This thing can fit about 60 dice in it, maybe more, maybe about 80 dice. What you do is you can count up your why it's so useful is it allows you to put your multiples of 5 dice, as I do it, in there really quickly. So you're like, right, 1 guy done, 2 guy done, 3 guy done, right, done. And then you can shake the cup, and then you can just roll, then you can just let the cup go over the table, and that's how you roll your dice. It's really easy. Makes it a lot quicker as well for when it comes to rolling the next set of dice, because what you do with conscripts is you pick out the hits. So you're there, and you just pick, every hit you pick out, you just put it straight in the cup. You don't put it to one side, you put them straight in the cup. Done. Bam, bam, bam. And then you just roll again. Bam. Saves a significant amount of time. You would be surprised at how much. I would say, thanks to my dice cup, I will probably shave off about 15-20% of the time it takes to each one of my shooting phases. Saves, a huge amount of time. Obviously, it's only really useful for like conscript squads. You don't really need it for everything else. If you're doing a heavy bolter, that's 3 dice. You don't put the fucking 3 dice in the cup. Forget that. No. Just put your 3 dice and roll them in your hand. That's fine. But when you're rolling these huge conscript blobs of dice, having a dice cup, guys, really, really useful. I really like mine as well. I used to use it. It's actually, side note, it is the perfect size for keeping a can of fizzy pop in it. For me personally, obviously, I love the Iron Brew. I don't know if it keeps it cooler, but I like to think it does. I like to think it's also my can cooler. Anyway, so that's it, guys. They're my top tips. List modernization, case organization, dice organization, dice rolling efficiency. So, if any of you guys have got any nice saving tips, time-saving tips, please put them down in the comments. We're all guard commanders here. We all need to help, share our tactics so that we can crush the Xenos and the Heretics. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.